the leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Alright folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please? America Off the Rails has been declared a conservatives-only safe zone. Only conservatives allowed from this point forward. Any liberal, socialist, butthurt, hippie, tree huggers, please exit the facility immediately. Again, attention please. America Off the Rails is now designated as a conservative safe zone only. All butthurt, tree-hugging, hippie, free-to-be, you-and-me types exit the facility immediately. Thank you.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period. This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Come expect us to get a mistake. We're paying off election.
fun doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, well, good morning, Red State Talk Radio. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, you know what that means. It's Sunday, and it's really early, so grab a cup of coffee. We've got a lot to talk about. I hope you're awake. All right, so before we get started into the crux of the show and all the important things that we're going to be talking about politically, I do have an announcement for you. We haven't really started, pushing this very hard yet, but we are about to. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, and you own a business that is either not brick and mortar, so basically whoever hears you can buy from you, or if you have a business in the area of Dallas or Philadelphia, we are looking for you. The Spark Radio Network, you know the little tagline that runs in the beginning, we're not just internet radio folks anymore, we are now officially terrestrial. We've been on WNJC now at 1360 AM out of Philadelphia now for 6 months. We are expanding into the Dallas market within the next several weeks. We also have shows that are on AMFM247.com. For those of you who don't know what that is an internet-based network that also has a lot of short-range AM/FM radio stations. So, why am I telling you all of this? Because for a short time only, if you purchase ad space in one of our KLIF slots, you get advertising everywhere we run, included in that cost, absolutely free. So if you want more information, please reach out to me at ricky@thesparkradionetwork.com and do so quickly because space is limited. All right, so now that we have the important housekeeping stuff out of the way, lots to talk about over this last week, most of which, unfortunately, is still going to have to center around Donald Trump. But for once, well, I say for once, but actually I guess it's been going on for a while. It seems there may finally start being some chinks in the Donald's armor, and we will get to that here in just a little bit. But first, I want to start out by playing something that was actually sent to me by one of the station managers that I work for out of Philly, because he knows how much I despise the Donald's policies. Notice I didn't say that I despise the Donald. I don't know the Donald, so I can't tell you whether I like him or not. What I can tell you is I don't like his policies, what few of them we know anything about. I don't like his behavior. So when you take his policies and his behavior and you look at them as a whole, I have to say, as someone who deals with the public quite a bit, I usually try to put my very best foot forward anytime I'm dealing with the public. So the fact that he is doing this means either one of two things. He's either behaving this way because he knows that's what sells, thanks to his exposure in reality TV, which, by all accounts, if you look at him and his behavior in the 80s compared to his behavior now, being a reality TV star has taught him that one thing, being an a-hole works. So maybe that's why. And maybe it's all business to him, and he knows if I do this and I behave this way, people are going to notice and they're going to pay attention because that's what made my reality TV show work, and that's what made all the other things that I've done in front of a camera work. So maybe that's what it is, because the thing about it is, you hear folks like Ben Carson, who, still for the life of me, I cannot understand why he endorsed the man, but you hear folks like Ben Carson saying things like, the Donald that you see in front of the camera is not the same person that he is when he's behind the scenes. See, usually that happens in reverse. Usually people are like really, really nice in front of the camera, and then you get off camera and they're like, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to eat your children, and I'm going to drink your blood. Apparently he does it in reverse, maybe. At least if you talk to all the people that actually claim to know him, he does it in reverse. I don't know. What I do know is that when you listen to his words that he said publicly over the last several years, and decades actually, you get a completely different picture for Donald Trump. And why do I bring that up? Because I have this really nice montage that we're going to play that actually outlines all of the different things that he has said over the years. So give me just a moment. We're going to get that queued up for you here as soon as the little spinny hourglass thing goes away. I don't know what that was about. All right, here we go.
Everybody's got to be covered. This is an un-Republican thing for me to say.
Universal health care.
I am going to take care of everybody.
Who pays for it?
The government's going to pay for it. The government's going to pay for this tax.
All right, so what we're going to do is kind of go through this clip by clip. So right there, you heard the bit that I've played before on a 60 Minutes interview that he did back in September when he starts talking about the fact that as far as he's concerned, we need some form of universal health care and that he can make it work because the government's going to pick up the tab. The thing they leave off is, in his mindset, what's going to wind up happening is, yes, the government's going to pick up the tab, but they're going to make everything so much more affordable that they're going to save money on the back end. For anyone who's ever seen what happens when a company gets a government contract, please tell me if that's how this works. Anybody? Bueller?
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
Exactly, because you know what happens when you get a government contract? All of a sudden you start padding the bill. So all of these doctors, and especially if it starts becoming the government is actually, there's no more insurance middlemen and the government is paying all the bills, you know what's going to happen? All these costs are going to skyrocket again, just like they did when there was a middleman, because nobody cares what they're paying anymore because there's a middleman. You pay your deductible, you go on about your day, and it doesn't matter if you paid $5,000 for an x-ray that you could have got right down the street for $500, because who cares, because you only paid a $150 deductible. If you think it's bad now with insurance companies, it's going to be a million times worse when they realize that technically they have the ability to charge someone who can print their own money. You know what would happen if you and I had the ability to print our own money and we could just be like, oh, the $1 million electric bill's due, let me fire up the inkjet. It's exactly what happens when the government gets involved in anything. Why do you think there are people that charge the government $50,000 for a toilet seat? And this guy says if the government picks up the tab for healthcare, he's going to make it more affordable. My eye. And you know that was not the word I wanted to say, but I'm censoring myself more than I used to because I actually got the 7-second dump in Philly the other day for the first time ever, and I got talked to afterwards, and I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to, I'm so sorry. But yeah, this topic gets me worked up, so I'm really doing what I can to censor myself, so bear with me for just a moment. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue talking. As you notice, I need to put some space in between these, I guess. The next clip, he starts talking about taxation, so let's let that play.
Would raise approximately $5.7 trillion. In many cases, I probably identify more as a Democrat.
You think? You just talked about raising a tax that would raise $5.6 trillion. It doesn't even mention what that tax is. It just says this tax would raise $5.6 trillion. I don't know of any taxes short of basically saying, hey, give me your wallet and give it to me now, that's going to raise $5.6 trillion.
I hate the concept of guns. I'm not in favor of it.
Why are you?
So wait, you hate the concept of guns, you're not in favor of guns, yet you're running as a Republican.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
I guess it's a good thing I let Grandma out of the basement, because apparently she's going to have a lot to say today, because she's right. This is that. You're running as a Republican, but you can't stand the concept of guns. I'm so confused.
Joining the Reform Party.
I really believe the Republicans are just too crazy right. I mean...
And yet he's running as a Republican when in, I believe it was either 80 or 88, he changed party affiliations and ran for president under the Reform Party. This is the same guy who keeps telling you he's not a career politician. Have you actually gone back and looked at the number of times that he has either floated the idea to run for president or actually done it? Because it's more than once. More than twice now. And for the guy who keeps telling you he's not a Washington insider, remember, this guy buys politicians the way you and I buy socks and underwear. But he's not a politician. And not an insider. I'm confused.
Hey, I lived in New York City and Manhattan all my life, okay? So, you know, my views are a little bit different than if I lived in Iowa, perhaps.
Partial birth abortion. Would President Trump ban partial birth abortion?
Well, look, I'm very pro-choice.
But you would not ban it?
No.
Or ban...
Okay, so President Trump, who... God, I'm sorry, I can't even say that phrase. Candidate Trump, who is running for president, has said in a recent interview from the sound of that clip, that he would not ban partial birth abortion. Yet he just got the gotcha question of the century done by Mr. Tingles Down My Leg, Chris Matthews, when he was asked if abortion was banned again, should women who seek abortions be punished? That should have been a non-starter for Trump, and yet he got backed into the corner and said, well, yes, because it's illegal. No, that's not the right answer, because first of all, everyone who is still pro-life understands that the genie is never going to go back in the bottle. Yes, in a perfect world, we would like it if women would not go, oh, I'm pregnant, this baby doesn't deserve to live, so meh. But we understand there are times when it's going to happen. All of us that are pro-life want two very simple things. We want to go back to the language of Roe v. Wade, because we understand the genie is never going back into the bottle. We want it to be safe and rare, because it's already legal. Safe meaning we don't want women using rusty coat hangers in an alley just because they had something happen to them that they weren't expecting, or maybe somebody forced themselves onto them, or whatever the case may be. And rare because we really want them to stop and think before they do something that can actually stop a life from existing. All of us that are pro-life, all we're saying is the following thing. If your heart stopping is what determines when you die, because that's what they do. They don't sit there with brain activity meters and keep saying that you're alive until that flatlines. It's the moment your heart stops. If they can't get it restarted within a few minutes, you've seen it on TV. Flatline, charging paddles to 250, clear, bzzz. Charging to 350, clear, bzzz. Time of death, 12:05 p.m. Because if they can't get your heart started again, then you're dead. So my question, and everybody else's question that is pro-life, is why can't the reverse be true? When you can hear that baby's heartbeat, why don't you go ahead and acknowledge the fact that it is alive? No, it may not be viable outside of your womb yet, but it is alive. We are starting to understand more and more about how things work for forming children in the womb, and how early they start dreaming, and how early they can feel pain. These things should matter, but they don't. No one's saying that women who seek abortion should ever be punished. Because if they're desperate enough to do that, then that's part of the problem. What we have been saying for forever is let's give them the opportunity to make informed choices. Let's let them understand exactly what it is that they're doing and make them understand that there are alternatives if they choose to exercise them. And then whatever they decide to do is completely up to them. I am friends with a couple of ladies in a DM group that have been doing actual pro-life work for decades. Decades. I'm just a guy that sits here behind a microphone and rants and yells. These women are actually on the front lines, trying to help people understand exactly what abortion does, not only to the child eventually, or immediately, because obviously if you have an abortion, the child usually dies. We have figured out over time, though, that certain groups don't necessarily make sure it happens right away so they can harvest some parts and make some money off of it. But hey, that's a story for another day, because remember that those videos were mean and hateful and nasty. Doesn't matter if it's true, I guess. But these ladies are on the front lines, and even they, when Donald Trump said what he said, they were livid, because he had basically set back all of the work of conservatives for the last 20 years to make people understand that, no, we are not cruel, heartless people who say you should have a baby no matter what. Most of us aren't. Now, there are going to be some hardliners out there, and I understand that. I mean, I've even talked to people that are like, well, if the mom's going to die and the baby's going to live, that's God's will. Okay, that's your opinion. My personal opinion on that is if it was God's will, we wouldn't have the ability to save their lives, should we choose, by choosing one or the other. But that, in that instance, should ultimately be the mother's decision. Because I know plenty of moms who when faced with that decision, would say the child comes first. The child is more important than me. And I know plenty of moms that would do the exact reverse. And no one should be judged for that. And no one is trying to judge you for that. We're just trying to make you understand that we want you to make a choice that you can live with. Because what happens many times in abortions, and I've heard this from several people that do the frontline work and the counseling and everything else, is they don't get all of the information. They're told it's just a clump of cells. They're told it doesn't feel pain. It doesn't understand anything that's going on. There's no way it can survive outside of you anyway, so you just do whatever you feel like you need to do, and that's it. And then they find out later that they were lied to, or they have this big gaping hole years down the road when they realize that there was a child inside of them, and they chose to get rid of it. Not by putting it up for adoption, so maybe they could find it later in life if they chose, but by killing it. And the thing about it, there's things that we don't really understand about how the mind and the body interact, because you know how many people that you hear about that have had things like abortion that wind up having really aggressive forms of cancer later, or really crazy things that happen that are not medically explainable. And a lot of that is because I firmly believe that we do not understand how the human body and the mind interact. I think there are things that you can do to yourself because of things like grief and stress and everything else. And we're finally starting to see some of that, because you'll see the doctors all the time on these little talk shows when they come on, talking about how they're finally starting to understand what it is that stress can actually do to the human body, and what it is that positive thoughts and negative thoughts can actually do to the human body. And we're just starting to understand those type of things. And this is one of the reasons why we keep telling people all we want them to do is to understand the choice that they're making, so that they can deal with the ramifications later of whatever decision that they make. That's what a lot of us that are pro-life have been saying for years. Is look, let's let them understand it. Let's show them where the baby is in development right now, what it is that it can do, what it can't do. Make them understand that, hey, they're telling you this is going to be painless for the child. That may not necessarily be true. And then let them make their decision that they need to make. And no one at that point is going to judge them, because all we're asking to do is allow them to be able to make an informed decision. All right. Sorry, I got on a bit of a tear there. Let's go back to the clip.
Partial birth
No,
abortion.
I am pro-choice in every respect. This is an un-Republican thing for me to say.
Who do you think would be the best qualified to make a deal with Iran?
Hillary's always surrounded herself with very good people. I think Hillary would do a good job.
Make a deal with Iran.
Well, I think Hillary would do a good job.
Nancy Pelosi.
All right, so you just heard him right there, basically talking up Hillary. The same guy who says, she's not really a friend of mine or anything. I put some money in her pocket once, so I called in that favor and had her come to my daughter's wedding, blah, blah, blah. Or was it his wedding at this point? I don't remember. But again, same thing I said at the opening of the show. If you really think at this point Donald Trump is not and has not been a political insider for the majority of his life, then you really just have not been paying attention. Next clip.
The Speaker. And I'm very impressed by her. I think she's a very impressive person. I like her a lot. She was going to really look to impeach Bush and get him out of office, which personally I think would have been a wonderful thing.
Impeaching him?
I think would have been a wonderful thing.
First of all, I thought he...
Okay, so Mr. I'm a Republican was just talking about Nancy Pelosi and how she was actually trying to see about getting Bush impeached. Now, look, if you've listened to the show for a while, whether you've listened here on Red State or the other places that it plays, you understand that I have not always been a positive voice for President Bush. There were lots of things that Bush 43 did in his second term that I do not agree with. But I also understand that no one is perfect and that he made decisions that he felt he needed to make, and I understand all of that. But this same person who's telling you, the world and the country, that he has changed, was recently lauding the fact that Nancy Pelosi was trying to get George Bush impeached, when in fact, honestly, I have to say I do agree with him on one point for that. I think there should have been a formal proceeding due to the Patriot Act. But that's it, because everything else that he did, I felt like were things that he honestly had to do. He didn't have a choice. The Patriot Act was the beginning of when I saw things going too far. And it's because of the fact that it actually, overnight, stripped so many of our freedoms away that we didn't even notice how many it actually impacted or touched. And I understand why he did what he did, and I'm not judging him for it, because in a similar circumstance, I might have made the same decision. But as a Monday morning armchair quarterback, I can look at the decision that he made and realized that he made the same one. And I do know from people that I know who know him that even he understands that he made mistakes during his presidency. But that's the thing about Bush. At least he owns up to them. And he says, look, nobody's perfect. I understand nobody's perfect, but I did the things that I felt like I had to do. And I respect that. Because look, nobody is perfect. I've had to explain decisions that I've made throughout my life that nobody else understood, why I did them, or what they were for, or what my thought process was in them. But I was still the one that made them. We all do that. We all do things at the end of the day, and we're like, why did I, what, huh? I probably should have done that a little differently, but it's a little late now because I already did it. All right, next clip.
Did a great job tonight. I thought he was strong and smart, and it looks like we have somebody that knows what he's doing. And it's a strong guy who really knows what he wants, and this is...
Okay, so we're going to stop there because, again, I didn't put any spaces in, so you'll probably hear the tail end of that comment in a minute. But this is from a video, as a reminder, so you can't see the little flashes across the screen that are like, this is how Donald Trump felt about Barack Obama on this date. And that's exactly who he was just talking about. The same guy who's telling you that he's a Republican and that he can fix America has, in this clip, said he doesn't like guns, he's pro-abortion, pro-partial birth abortion, wouldn't ban partial birth abortion, lauded Hillary Clinton, praised the fact that Pelosi was going to try to impeach Bush, and just did about a 45-second love fest with President Barack Obama. Let's see what else we have to listen to.
What we need.
Hillary's a great friend of mine. Her husband is a great friend of mine. I think Hillary is going to take it, and I think Hillary is very, very capable. I'm very pro-choice, a liberal on health care.
Universal health coverage.
I like universal. As far as single payer, it works in Canada. It works incredibly well in Scotland. It just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans.
Donald Trump and I both agree that there ought to be more taxation.
What do you think of eminent domain?
I think it's a wonderful thing. I'll be honest with you.
For people that have been here for years, that have, been hard workers, have good jobs, are supporting a family, it's very, very tough to just say, you have to leave, get out. How do you throw somebody out that's lived in this country for 20 years? We just can't.
Hang on. We got to take a break here in a minute. But before we go to break, and that'll probably be about the last of that we play. Before we go to break, I want you to listen to what you just heard. The same guy who said we need to throw them all out and we need to build a wall was just heard in recorded form saying, how do you throw people out that have been here for forever? I have been telling you for months, America, that he is selling you a bill of goods. And for those of you who keep throwing it up in my face, yes, I have read The Art of the Deal. You are watching The Art of the Deal unfold right now. The Art of the Deal only works in short form. You have to get in, tell the folks what you want to hear, what they want to hear, get the ink on the paper, and get out the door before they realize that you weren't entirely honest with them about the things that you were saying. That is the one thing that, as much as all of you complain about how long the process is and how many debates there were supposed to be before he started chickening out on them and saying he wasn't going to do them, this is the reason our process is long form. Because you start being able to see things unfold, and people can't just come in, tell you what you want to hear, get their name on a ballot, get a vote, and get out the door, because that's not how our system works. We want people that are informed. We want people that understand. We want people that are involved in the process so that they can look and they can dissect. And that's what's finally starting to happen with Donald Trump, which is why he's starting to lose his momentum. And we'll actually touch on that when we get back. But at this point, we do have to take a break because, unfortunately, this is a job, and I do occasionally have to pay some bills. All right, so at this point, folks, we'll be back here in just a couple minutes. This is America Off the Rails, the Red State Edition, and we still have about half the show left on this really early Sunday morning. I hope it's beautiful where you are right now. It's a little cloudy and overcast where I am. We'll be right back. All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business, and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you, so make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
The wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method, and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry, or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
for our own cause. We got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the relevant.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live on this really early Sunday morning. This is America Off the Rails, the Red State Edition. I do hope you guys are having a great Sunday morning. Now, at this point, we do have some stuff we need to get to, and that is, as I promised right before the break, we're going to start outlining some of the ways that Donald Trump appears to be losing momentum, and the fact that now his group is afraid he may not reach the magic number. You know, for those in his movement that have been telling us for months it was a foregone conclusion, all of us that weren't behind Trump needed to get behind the front runner because there was no way he was not going to get to the magic number. Well, guess what, folks? There is now a really good chance that he may not reach the magic number, because at this point, he has lost Wisconsin. Speaking of that, he lost Wisconsin quite handily and was actually made a statement shortly thereafter. It sounded we have a little bit of that. Of course, we had a reporter on the ground in Wisconsin who was able to get us some of that statement. So I have that here queued up for you, ready to go right here. All right, folks, there you have it. Donald Trump's speech made shortly after the resounding Wisconsin defeat. Actually, he was soundly trounced there. And actually, while that was tongue-in-cheek, there was a statement that was made by his campaign team that was pretty near libelous. From some of the things that it was said, of course, they kept throwing around the phrase Lion Ted and how there were things that were happening on the ground that shouldn't have been happening there, and that things were basically just unfair, and yada, yada, yada. Well, see, now the thing is, everybody was like, well, now the next few places, though. There's no way Trump can lose the next few places, except now from the folks that have boots on the ground, it looks like Trump may actually lose Colorado. And if he loses in the margins they're expecting him to lose at this point, which is why his campaign is starting to freak out. Last I heard, they actually started laying a few people off, which is usually a bad sign. The simple fact of the matter is, even if he carries New York, which I will admit, with Cruz's comments about New York, there's really not much of a chance for him to be able to carry that state, and that's one of the reasons why, even though this story broke shortly after he made the statement.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain!
Anybody remember that? Because we talked about it like the day after Cruz made the statement. There was a story about the stress relief booth, shall we say, in New York City. The first of what will probably be many. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please feel free to go Google. I don't know if stress relief booth will actually pull it up, but I hope you know what I'm talking about well enough that I don't have to say it here, because the station owners might not like me using that word, but let's just say it starts with an M and ends with H-en. If you can't figure it out from then, shoot me an email, and I will explain so you can find the article. Because, yeah, it was kind of creepy. But, yeah, so, Cruz starts throwing around the New York values problem for Trump, so I'm pretty sure he's not going to carry New York. As a matter of fact, I heard that there were a couple of places that he was supposed to be speaking that were like in a high school or something, and the children were like, if he comes in, or I guess I shouldn't say, well, I mean, they are still legally children, so whatever. Bryce is probably listening right now and be like, I'm not a kid! I graduate in a few months. Quit calling me a kid. But anyway, so they were like, if he comes in here and he starts talking, we're leaving. So, I mean, obviously he's not very popular in New York, so he really doesn't have much of a chance to carry too much of anything there, I don't think. But the thing about it is, even if Trump carries New York, if he loses Colorado, the best projection they give him at this point is 1137, which is not the magic number. Now, at this point, this is when you start hearing folks like Sean Hannity, well, come on, America, we need to rally behind the guy who has the most votes. Look, and this is coming from someone who used to respect Sean Hannity. I used to record his shows as show prep and go over them and say, well, I like what he said here, but we should probably talk about it from this angle. But I can't even listen to him anymore. I don't think he understands what he's done to his career. I really don't, because at this point, if Trump does not become the president, and he doesn't get his shot at press secretary, which is what a lot of the quiet rumblings have been behind the scenes now for months, because you can find really old quotes from Sean Hannity from several years ago, talking about how he had been the one that behind the scenes had started grooming Donald Trump to run for president. And a lot of folks, when you start connecting those dots, are realizing that maybe Hannity has more aspirations than just being a talk show host and a radio talk show host. I got to tell you, folks, that's actually the extent of my aspirations. I enjoy doing this so much, and we are getting so close to being able to get to the point where we can. There are several of us with the Spark Radio Network that, if things keep going the way they're going, within several months we'll be able to do this full time and actually decide whether we want to keep working our day jobs or let them go. And that's been my goal all along. And see, I think that's where it's important, because here's the thing. Right now, we're hungry. We're not dependent on this income, and even if it gets to the point where I do this full time, I'm not going to change what I tell you and how I tell you, and I'm not going to be one of these guys that tries to make you think like I do. And no matter how often Hannity uses the phrase, I'm not trying to make you think like I do, you can see over the past several months that his behavior says the exact opposite. I would never in my life tell you how to vote. But since I can't tell you how to vote, I tell you why I vote the way that I vote, so that you have the ability to listen to someone else giving you a different point of view so that you can make your decision that best suits you. Much like we were just talking about with the abortion debate and the abortion problem and the abortion issues. Nobody is trying to tell anyone, save a rare few, that you should never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, have an abortion. Now, I personally happen to think you should never, ever, 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 under any circumstances, have an abortion, but that's my personal thought, and my wife agrees with me. But that doesn't mean that because those are our thoughts, that we're trying to force them on anyone else. It's the same with your voting process and your political process. No one here is trying to tell you how to think, what you should think, or who you should vote for. We have folks on my home station, the one that I'm, for those of you who get confused, this is what happened. I started a radio network several years ago because I went to a friend of mine when I first had the idea of doing a talk show who was already doing internet-based music-style radio, and pitched him the idea, and he thought I was crazy. So I found a way to start building a network. Well, within a few months of that network getting solidly established and having a few shows on, all of a sudden I get called into a meeting, and the friend that laughed me out of his office built me an online radio station. That is K98 Talk. So I am the programming director and business partner for the guy that actually owns K98 Talk, but I own the Spark Radio Network. The Spark Radio Network is the one that is now branching out into affiliates that are both terrestrial and internet-based, and K98 Talk will always be our internet flagship. So, and the reason I bring all of this up is, again, just to make you understand that none of this, no matter in which iteration it is, and no matter whether it works, doesn't work, takes off, blows up in my face, whatever happens, I will never use the platform that I have and the multiple platforms that I have now. One I own, one I'm programming director of and business partner to, and the others that carry my shows on a daily and weekly basis. No matter who hears my voice, no matter how much money I start making off of it, no matter where it takes off, where it blows up, where it crash lands, whatever happens, will I ever, in the existence of this platform and the time that I spend behind a microphone, ever try to tell you what to do? That is not my job. It's never my intention. It's not going to happen. What I will do is give you information and give you my opinions, because if you're listening to me, then I'm hoping that maybe I can help you make your own decision that best suits you. That doesn't mean that I expect you to fall lockstep in with me on everything that we talk about. And I tell you that at the end of every show. Even if you disagree with 95%, 99%, or 100% of what I say, which if you disagree with me at 100% of the time and you're still listening to this show, then I'm doing something right and I'm not sure about your sanity. Just being honest, because if you completely disagree with everything that I say and you're still listening, and there are some of you who do, don't get me wrong, I've actually heard from folks who be like, I can't stand a single thing that you say, I don't agree with anything that you say, but for some reason I can't ever stop listening. And yeah, that has happened, believe it or not. It's kind of a weird thing to realize that you have someone who basically detests the existence of your show and yet cannot turn it off. And that's actually happened more than once. But again, even with those folks, I'm not trying to tell any of you what to think, because that's really not how this works. It's really not. But what I will tell you is that based on the behavior of the Republican Party over the last several months, years actually, and based on the fact that up until this election cycle, I have felt like I've had to hold my nose and vote. For the first time in a long time, the primary in my state actually seemed like it mattered for once, because normally by the time we get to primary, it's already a foregone conclusion who the nominee is going to be. I was able to walk in to the voting booth and pull a lever for the first time in a long time, other than my very first election, which was all the way back in 1992-ish. I think I managed to get in on the one of the Clinton elections. I think it was the second term, and I voted for not Clinton. Just for the record, I don't honestly remember who it was that I voted for at that point. I think 92, 93. That was when Bush was trying for his second term, Bush 41. So I guess I voted for Clinton, or not Clinton, but Bush. And I've pretty much voted Republican ever since. But the thing about it is, and trust me, I'm getting to a point here because we are getting a little short on the show. 2 weeks ago now, I am no longer a registered Republican. my state, for the first time since 1988, has recognized the Libertarian Party. So in an effort to get to the point where hopefully at some point my state starts trying to reform some of its election laws, I actually immediately changed my registration to Libertarian for two very important reasons. One we just discussed. The other is because I am sick and tired of the Republican Party. As a matter of fact, this is exactly how I feel about the Republican Party.
I hate this place. Nothing works here. The medications don't work. I've been here for 7 years.
Actually, I've been there for about 24. And I legitimately, at this point, do hate the Republican Party. Not as a whole, and not the individuals in it, but the leadership of the Republican Party has made it somewhere that I cannot be. Because Reince Priebus had one job, and that was to make sure that whoever was carrying our banner through this primary process was a legitimate conservative. Reince, there are people that listen to this show that I never in a million years thought listened to this show, and I've been able to find this out from several people. I haven't been able to confirm that you're one of them, but from some of the people that I know listen, I'm pretty sure you are at least getting secondhand information. So for some of you big-name folks who shall remain nameless, because the folks that told me are friends of yours and were basically sworn to secrecy, for some reason, I'm not sure. Maybe it's because they're afraid that Trump is going to wind up getting the nomination and the First Amendment won't exist anymore. Which is one reason why we've really been trying really hard to get this thing off the ground, because we want to get a foothold everywhere before the world changes, because at this point it looks like we're heading in that direction. But I digress. So anyway, in the event that you actually hear this broadcast or you're informed about this broadcast, Mr. Priebus, you had one job and you effed it up all over the map. You should have told Donald Trump to kick rocks. Because as we've outlined today, not only is he not a conservative, he's never been a conservative, he doesn't even pretend to be a conservative, and you can find multiple places where he says the exact opposite things of what a conservative would say. But now, even though we can find proof of him saying, hey, well, there's no way we could really kick out all these 11 million people, and that wouldn't be fair, and it wouldn't work, and it's not the right thing to do. But yes, so never mind about all of that, because, that's not what he says when he's in front of the camera on the campaign trail and stumping through the election cycle and doing the debates that now he's refusing to do and everything else. So, never mind any of that. None of that matters, right? Never mind that he's saying completely different things to you when you're listening than he does behind the scenes when he's hoping that maybe nobody's going to hear about those particular pieces, because they're really not going to. Now, I have some other insight that I thought was kind of necessary for you to hear, and we're going to close out the show with that stuff. So I have just a moment here. It's about 22 seconds worth of audio, and it outlines the thought process behind the scenes of Donald Trump. And you can hear from the sound of his voice that he's totally sincere when he says what I'm about to play. And it terrified me when I heard it, which is why I want to share it with you.
You become very successful. The people that you will like best are the people that are less successful than you. Because when you go to a table, you can tell them all these wonderful stories and they'll sit back and listen. Does that make sense to you? Okay?
No.
Always be around unsuccessful people because everybody will respect you. Do you understand that? Okay. Always be around unsuccessful people because everybody will respect you. Do you understand that?
Always be around unsuccessful people because everybody will respect you. Do you understand that? Now, again, I'm going to play the first part of it one more time because I want you to hear the sincerity in his voice.
Throw everybody out.
Oh, hang on. Wrong one. Here we go.
You become very successful. The people that you will like best are the people that are less successful than you. Because when you go to a table, you can tell them all these wonderful stories and they'll sit back and listen. Does that make sense to you? Okay?
All right. So again, I want you to hear the sincerity in his voice. He was not pretending at that point. He was not telling people what they wanted to hear. He was opening up what is inside his heart to them. And I want you to let that comment sink in, because it is the exact opposite of everything that he tells you on the campaign trail, or he's told you on the debate dais, or any of the above. Because he says, as a president, he will surround himself with the best and brightest people, but he just admitted to you that he only really enjoys being around people that are less successful than him, because then they idolize him. This is not someone that we need as president. It's the same thing that I have been saying for months. He is the anti-Obama. They have the same exact mindsets, the same exact narcissism. The only difference is this man understands how power works. He has had exposure to power through money for his entire adult life, and he understands how to use it, and he understands how to use it in negative ways. Do you remember the bit we played earlier where he was talking about what a great thing eminent domain was? How many times has he used that in his business practices? Do you really think that a president who has used eminent domain in his personal business practices is going to be afraid to use it in governmental practices? And I know what you're saying. Rick, he's not the one. Really? You don't think that he's been the same guy? Just idolized him. Barack Obama did a great job, showed people positions of strength, did this, did that. Do you not think he's been listening to Obama when he says, I have a pen and I have a phone and I know how to use them? We are getting to the point now, folks, where our republic is on the verge of extinction because people have been finding ways to do in-runs around the Constitution now for decades. We need someone in the White House who is going to reverse the damage. We do not at this point need a transitional candidate, which is what I keep hearing folks that support Donald Trump tell me, which is likely what he's going to be, is what they call a transitional candidate to start trying to hopefully push us back into the right direction. The issue with a transitional candidate is we really don't know which direction a transitional president like Trump would be transitioning us to, unless we listen to what he says. And we've outlined it in this entire show. He tells you what you want to hear when he has your attention, and then tells reporters the exact opposite when he's hoping you're not going to pay attention. Why do you think he vilifies the press every chance that he gets? Doesn't matter if it's left of center press, right of center press, dead right around the center press. No press is objective, no press is legitimate, and if he gets his way, he's going to find ways to penalize the press. That was one of the first things that sent up red flags all over the place for me, because as a sitting president, you can't just say, look, I'm going to change it so that newspapers can get sued easier, and so reporters can get sued easier. There's a reason those protections are there. Because a lot of times to break stories, some folks really do have to skirt the rules. Look at the whole Woodward and Bernstein thing back in the day. What if those laws were different then? You know, the Democrats tout those guys, and yet now we have a president presidential candidate who, by all intents and purposes, is basically a Democrat, pretending to be a Republican just so he can get the nomination. Or at least he thought he was going to be able to get the nomination. But there's a story that's been going around about that for a while now, too. I don't think he ever really intended to get this far, and I don't think he intended to be the front runner for as long as he was. It's one of the reasons why I think his campaign has made gaffe after gaffe after gaffe. I don't think he wanted to be here. Not where he is. Not in the number one spot. Because there have been people that have left his campaign that have basically told us exactly that this was never intended to be the campaign of the front runner. This was intended to be the campaign of a vote getter and a delegate stealer to make it harder for whoever was going to get the nomination to actually get the nomination, and in my estimation, to also make it easier for Hillary Trump to actually become the next, or Hillary Trump. Can you tell I really can't tell much of a difference between the two? For Hillary Clinton to become the next president of the United States. All right, so at this point, folks, it is about time for me to make my way out of here. It has been my pleasure sitting here with you on this Sunday morning. Again, I do hope it's beautiful and sun's starting to come up where you are. It's starting to come up where I'm at, and we're still cloudy and overcast. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, folks. This is Rick Robinson. I'll be back with you right here next week, next Sunday on Red State Talk Radio. Don't go away.
Everything you earn by breaking your backs, we're gonna redistribute when we make our pay tax. Hey, sit down. Don't. Don't.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.